Hey, good people, Davia here, and welcome to another episode of Tales from the Shaker, Davia Williams Stevenson podcast. So you're used to hearing my preamble about how I'm excited about who I'm talking to and how proud I am of them and all those other things, because it's just the truth. It is simply the truth. I don't know how I'm blessed with a circle of people that are so amazing. But I got a lady here, another badass, as I generally would say. I'm going to get to know her right along with you today. Going to get to know more of her life. I was reading a little bit of your bio, and the way I experienced you is starting to make some sense to me as I see how you've moved around the country. You have that gravitas to me. You don't have that one region perspective, and I see that as I'm reading your bio. I'm not going to read the whole bio. I'm going to share a bit here and there. This is Dr. Mysheika Williams Roberts, Columbus Health Commissioner, sitting with me today. So Columbus Public Health is working to protect the health and improve the lives of all residents by addressing our community's most critical public health issues, such as infant mortality, the opioid epidemic, tobacco use, and gun violence. Health Commissioner Roberts leads the organization and a team of more than 500 public health professionals who focus on neighborhood-based approaches. I love that addresses the social determinants of health, from safe, affordable housing and education to jobs and food access, in order to decrease the health disparities that exist. I'm going to move through some of this. I just want you to see where this woman puts her life, puts her energy, has her impact. Your community-based. You care about these issues are holistic. These are, my vocabulary is failing me right now, but life affirming, disaffirming, if that's a word, challenges that our regular folks in our neighborhoods are living with. And so I love that you have your finger and you're leading a team that's trying to reduce those disparities. A native of Los Angeles is what I learned today. Enjoys spending time with her husband, Edward, and their dogs, Cosby and Rudy.
Cosby Show fans.
Oh, I love it. While exploring the diverse culture experiences of Columbus. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's going to be fun to get to know you today. I'm going to try. We have a common friend in common, and she said, you have to pull out some tea. So I don't know. We'll see how we do with that. But thank you for taking some time out of your busy day to come and sit with me and just have a conversation. What I love to do here, I shared that with you before, is talk about the premise of Tales from the Shaker is, what is it that moves you, that motivates you? What has shaken you up? Is it an event, a circumstance that caused you to move into something different, learn a new thing, do a new thing, find a new passion? And so I'm excited to dig into that a little bit with you today. Sure. So thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So how long have you been in Columbus?
Wow. So I moved to Columbus in 2004.
Okay.
2004, I've been here. Okay. So almost 20 years. Yeah. Okay. And when I came here, it was for a 2-year assignment working for the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. And I literally thought I'd be here for 2 years and I'd leave. And I had a calendar on my desk where I tick off the dates. And here I am almost 20 years later. So
Columbus was very different 20 years ago.
Oh, very different.
Yeah, I moved here about that time. And I remember thinking, this place has a bit of an identity crisis. Is it provincial? Is it a small town? Is it a big city? What is it? Right. And it's been really neat to see it grow. I love it here.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah, I do too.
Yeah. Well, we're glad we have you. Yeah. So what do you do for fun? What's fun for you?
Well, friends and family are everything to me. So I really enjoy spending time with them. So you mentioned I have a husband. I have a sister who is my best friend who lives here. And my mom also lives here. We relocated her here about 8 years ago. So spending time with them. I love to dine out. Okay. I'm a foodie. Okay. So give me a new experience. Yep. A new bar, a new hanging spot. I love it. I do love to travel. And unfortunately, I like to shop too. Okay. And so my closet probably shows that to some extent, but I love shopping for clothes as well as home decor and things of that nature. So those are some of the things I do for fun. And whether it's fun or not, I do like to exercise. So I do that as well.
Well, I do. I'm familiar with, and I don't know if we can mention the name of the program, but I've done this program as well to great success. But what I love about your involvement, your engagement, this whole space, this community-minded space that you live in, I see you forming community even through this health program, showing your consistency every day and encouraging other folks, bringing local people together. It's who you are. It isn't just what you do. It's who you are.
I really enjoy it. And I see the benefit in me, and I've seen the benefit in others who I've invited into that space, who have just flourished health-wise. Yeah.
It certainly made a difference for me. And I can tell as I fell off some of the principles, primarily just watching sugar and whatnot. I have some chronic issues and my pain increased. So I'm
that inflammation.
Myself back in the right direction.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So one of the things I've been wondering about, wanting to ask you. So you're the health commissioner for a pretty large state. We're the 14th or 15th largest state in the country. And I feel like Ohio led the way, very much so, in the response to COVID. And you, as our health commissioner, was suddenly thrust into the national spotlight. And I said earlier, I would say even international spotlight, because everybody watches what the U.S. does. And first of all, did it feel like that? I said you were thrust. Did it feel like a thrust? Had you been prepared for this? What was that like to go from handling your job in a state where you thought you were going to be for 2 years? You've been here a while by then. And suddenly the national spotlight is on you.
Yeah. So I'll be honest with you. I never thought about it being that I was being thrust into something. I felt like I was doing my job. And I was committed from the beginning to be transparent and to be honest with, not only my mayor, but most importantly, the residents of our community, of what I knew and what I thought was best to keep people healthy and safe. We were fortunate when this pandemic started that we had an outstanding state health director and Dr. Amy Acton. She and I were really close colleagues, and we stayed in touch frequently before the pandemic was declared. So I would stay in touch with her, what she knew and what she was thinking, and likewise, she'd stay in touch with me. With Columbus being the largest city in the state, we had a lot of people looking at us, and we also had the state house here. So that was also important. I remember when we made the decision to cancel the Arnold, which is, a huge sports festival here in town. And I will never forget the day that I told my staff. I woke up on a Monday morning, I told 2 of my key staff members that I was contemplating suggesting to the mayor that we cancel the Arnold. And one of them told me that he spit out his coffee when he got my text that said that. But those 3 days of deliberating and thinking about what was best for our community and how we were going to navigate that were probably what I thought at the time were some of the toughest days of my job. Unfortunately, it got tougher as cases increased and as things expanded with the pandemic. But Dr. Acton and I thought, worked really well together to convince not only our mayor of Columbus, but the governor that it was the right thing to do.
Can you imagine? People come from all over the world to the Arnold.
Oh, yeah.
And they're sweating.
Oh, yeah.
And they're touching. And I've gone there, and you're walking. I can imagine what that, as bad as the pandemic got, what that would have set off.
We would have been a super spreader. There's no doubt about it. CNN would have been here. What I was most concerned about, what all of us in public health were concerned about, was the expo, where people come into the big exhibit hall and they can just buy from different people. And you have no idea. There's no ticketing for that. So you have no idea who's in there. There's no way to do contact tracing. And you have to recall, this was the first weekend of March of 2020. And we did not have the capability of doing testing here in Ohio. Everything had to be sent to Atlanta to the CDC. So you were talking about a 7 to 10 day wait period before you got a result. So we had exposure in our community at that point in time from all of those individuals gathering in that exhibit hall, we definitely would have been a super spreader. We would have seen more people die, and there would have been a delay in identifying it as well.
I'm seeing a screenplay in my head. Seriously, I can see tension in the halls of the labs and the offices as you trying to make a decision that will likely be controversial to some, and there's going to be those that will applaud you, but there will be those that will highly criticize you, and you can only know what didn't happen.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I can just feel that those days where you had to deliberate, and that was the first one.
That was the first. There were many others. Yeah.
So as you move through that season, because I won't make you relive each of the many others for sure, but as you moved through that, and I would imagine it changed. Maybe I should ask this. I don't know. The response to the pandemics, what was this, 150 years ago before the last one, right? Some many years, decades, generations. What has changed since then in how we understand communicable diseases, how you manage public expectations and communication? There's got to be so many spaces. What would you say for you has changed how you do your job, how you see your job?
You mean from March 2020 to now?
To now.
Yeah.
As you've moved through the pandemic stage. Yeah.
Well, I think as a result of the pandemic, many people across the world, not to mention right here in Columbus, Ohio, have a much better appreciation of public health than they had before March of 2020. They have an understanding of it that they didn't appreciate prior. Now, for some people, that is a positive thing, right? They think highly of public health. Others might think more negatively of public health, depending on their viewpoint. I mean, we have to acknowledge the fact that many people across the country here in the U.S., I won't speak for the globe, but here in the U.S. and here in Ohio, did not like the fact that we shut down the Arnold, did not like the fact that all kids were home from school from March until the fall of 2020, did not like the fact that their restaurants were closed down, and when they did reopen, had limitations of how many people could come in. They did not like the fact that you had to wear a mask, and they blamed public health for that. They did not like the fact that they were being ordered to stay home and quarantine just because they had been exposed to someone with COVID-19. So for those individuals, they might have a much more negative impression of public health than others. And I think for me, as someone who's been doing public health most of my career, that was the hard part for me to stomach, was that the work I thought so highly of and so positively of, there were people in our community and across the country who really frowned upon it and didn't realize that we were trying to keep them healthy. We were trying to keep them alive. And that's why we made the recommendations we did. And that's why we followed through with orders that we did to keep people healthy and safe.
So on those days, those tough days when you're getting all the letters and you're seeing the angry, statements on the news and whatnot, like, how do you get up the next day? Like, what does that feel like in your body? We just deliberated for hours. We use good information and we're trying to keep you alive. And I got to get up and go in there and do this thing again. Like, what got you up?
Yeah.
First of all, did those days happen? I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't assume.
Yeah. So fortunately, my staff tried to shield me as much as possible from those negative letters and notes, but sometimes they came directly to my mailbox and I saw them. Most of them were from parents. When the fall, school started opening up in the fall, many parents were upset that their kids, we were doing alternating days or limiting the people in the classroom or having to wear masks. Those were the letters that some kind of way got directly to my email box. So they did happen. But I would say a few things kept me afloat and kept me positive. One, my staff. My staff were phenomenal. And they really believed in me and supported what we were doing. And they never gave me any inkling that I needed to slow down, that I was asking them to do too much. I never felt that. And then, I'm not going to lie, I had great support from the elected officials here in Columbus and Franklin County. And I would even say with Governor DeWine. So we had that kind of great support. Obviously, my husband and my immediate family, my sister and my mom were very supportive, and my friends. I would get random texts from acquaintances and friends just saying, "Keep it up, you're doing a great job." But when I took this job on in 2017, my family had a party for me with other women of color in town and just celebrated this accomplishment. And they had everyone who attended the party write a note to me of some encouraging words. And that box, it's in a beautiful box. Those notes are sitting on my desk in my office at work. And so there were some downtimes that I just kind of needed some motivation, you know? And so I would open that box and read a note or two. And that would really fill my cup, reminding me why I was in that position and that I was capable. And despite what I might be hearing on the news and the media and from random individuals, I was enough, I was tough enough, and I could get through this.
So I'm enough, I'm tough enough, and I can get through this because I'm in the right place at the right time.
Right.
Yeah.
And I have the right support around me.
Yeah. Right there are all the principles of self-care. Right there. Right. The truth is, I am enough. Whether you're Dr. Mysheika Roberts or whether you're Sally, right? Or me, or you. Right. I am enough.
Well, and one of the principles you learn in medical school is do no harm, right? No harm. Yep. And so I knew that the advice I was giving, the recommendations I was giving was in an effort to do no harm to the individuals that I had, I was responsible for the health and well-being of. And another thing I did, and you talked about self-care, another thing I did, and I had done it before I joined this health program that you and I are talking about, but I exercised in the morning. Prior to the pandemic, I was a member of a gym and I would go regularly. And then obviously the pandemic shut that down. So my sister and I would start walking in the morning, and she had much more flexibility than I did. So she would get up early, she'd meet at my house, and we would walk. And that was a great stress relief. And then my husband and I ended up converting one of our rooms in our home to a gym. And so once that happened, I'd get up at 5 a.m. and, no one was really trying to text me or call me or ask me a question at 5 a.m. Usually those calls didn't come until about 7. So I had those 2 hours or so to get up, get dressed, and be ready for when those calls came. And I was often on conference calls at 7 a.m.
I was thinking 9 when you said 7. I was
like, no. Okay. They were, because doctors and hospitals like to get up early. Yeah. And so I had many conference calls that started at 7 a.m.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I thank you for what you did.
Thank you.
So proud. I'm alive, and many of the people I know, I did lose some folks in some other cities. Mm-hmm. We lost a lot of people in Detroit and some other spaces, and that hasn't personally. I know there are plenty of people who lost their lives in Ohio as well, but I don't know the name of the health commissioner in Detroit City or some of the other cities that had greater loss, but you and the elected officials and your staff, you did good work. You did good work. Yeah.
Thank you.
We are no longer in a pandemic.
We are not.
So what does that mean I was on a plane the other day coming home, and I don't remember feeling that creeped out. I travel plenty. I don't know what it was about this population. Had they all come from? I don't know what was going on. I usually have a mask with me, and I will often wear one when I'm on a plane. Not always. I doubled it that day. I'm telling you, I was freaked out. I don't know. I didn't have my wipes. I was not a person that did any of that before the pandemic. And I used to look at my husband taking out his wipes and wiping everything down. I'm like, you are so extra. It's all right. Not that big a deal. Now I only see how disgusting things are. And there were few people with masks on. I don't know. How should we govern ourselves?
Yeah. So the pandemic is over. You're absolutely right about that. But COVID-19 is still here, and it will be with us, just like the flu. Remains with us, and RSV and all these other cruddy things, the common cold. So, I think you should govern yourself based on what your underlying health issues are and who you are around. So for me, I have an 80-year-old mom who is on dialysis, so she's fragile. So I often will wear my mask when I'm out in public spaces. So, for example, when I go to the grocery store, if I go to Target, if I go to the mall, I will wear a mask. I always wear a mask when I fly. As soon as I walk foot into the airport, I put a mask on. That's my preference. Yeah. That's what I do. I also have an underlying health condition, so I want to protect myself as well as my mother's health. That being said, I do it. I feel good about what I'm doing. But I've also had COVID twice, and I know other people who aren't as protective, I guess you could say, and they haven't had COVID. So I think it depends on the person. But like I said, I have an underlying health condition, which causes my immune system to be a little weaker. So I'd like to say that might be why I've been more susceptible to COVID. Fortunately, they were both mild cases, and I give all the credit to the vaccines, and I've had them all. And I encourage people to get vaccinated. So, the practices we did at the height of the pandemic, like staying home if you're sick, people should still do that. Washing your hands, covering your cough and your sneeze. And if you are under the weather, like, you think you have a cold and you have to go somewhere, you absolutely have to go somewhere, wear a mask. Yeah. I mean, it's just that simple. Or preferably stay home if you're sick. And so I'm constantly reminding my staff about that, about, nothing is that important. We did it for almost a year and a half. Okay. We can continue to do that if need be. And we have the pleasure now of having flexibility in most work environments where you can work from home. Not every work environment, but most.
Yeah. My routine, if I'm near someone with a mask on, I will also put on a mask. Mm-hmm. It just feels like courtesy to me. Mm-hmm. You have a mask on because you're protecting yourself from something.
Something.
Let me participate with that.
Yeah.
After my flight the other day, though, I'm going to be a little more. I was really freaked out, and I don't typically get that worked up about things. But I'll be using my mask as I travel this winter for sure.
Oh, you should. Yeah, I would encourage you to do that. And you talked about cleaning down, things in the airplane and other places. That's something that I didn't necessarily do before the pandemic. I see the value of doing it. I really just try not to touch things if I don't have to. So, if I don't have to put the tray down on the plane, then I don't do it. Okay. And if I do put it down, I do wipe it. But I really try not to do that.
You used to put your phone in the back pocket?
Oh, yeah, I don't do that. No. No, don't
that's
do
forever
that.
Changed, that's for sure.
Yeah.
That's good. So I know you like to travel as well. We'll probably be wrapping up soon, but what's I love to travel. You mentioned a couple things I love. I love food. That's my husband and I do the same thing. Mm-hmm. What's the new bar? What's the new restaurant in town? And Columbus has quite a food scene, and there's some stuff going on as of late.
Yes.
With the rooftops and whatnot. Pretty cool. But I know you also travel.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite place?
Our new favorite place for my husband and I has been Vegas. It just gives us everything we want to do. Like, we like the nightlife. I love food. Yeah. He joins me in on that. We like to shop, so it kind of provides all that. And then you get the shows and the entertainment all on top of that. So that's great. We like to go where family is. So we're going in a few days to Atlanta to see some family there. And then I have a best friend who lives in Oakland, California, and another one who lives in Minneapolis. So we like to go visit them, both great cities, at least not in the winter with Minneapolis, but in the summer, it can be a great spot. And give me a beach any day and a nice, refreshing beverage sitting on the beach, and I'll take that as well.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love that you're a real person.
Thank you.
You're a whole person. That you love your family, that this love for community is consistent. It's what you do in the areas where you aren't paid to do it. So I love that about you. I believe that you said a few things today that I hope will be inspiring to folks, that people hear between the lines, not will hear you say, yeah, there were days when I had to remind myself who I was.
Yeah.
There will be people who will never reach your level of professional achievement, right? And even you're beautiful, all of those things. And you had those days when the pressure was on, where you had to remind yourself who you are. And guess who helped you do that? Your community.
Your Absolutely.
Community, right?
Absolutely.
That's universal needs. That's what we need universally.
Yeah.
And so I love when I hear people that we want to separate from being like the rest of us. I know I have these moments where I wax into my mental health space, but we are all the same. We all want love. We all want belonging. We all want significance, security, and purpose. We all do.
Absolutely.
And we all search for that in different ways. And so I appreciate that even in our conversation, we got to hear some of the things you do. You breathe. That's what you do by exercising. You have some fun. You drink your water. You lean on your community. You lean in with the people that you love, and you have dogs, which I think is It's important. I lost my dog a couple of years ago, and I'm working on convincing my husband that we can make that work. Our lifestyle is changed quite a bit, so we're not here a lot. We got to figure that out. All right, good people. I hope that you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. Let me tell you what we're drinking.
It's good.
I made us a chai latte with some, actually used the leaves and boiled it in some water with almond milk, frothed it, added some fresh ginger and a little bit of honey to sweeten it. All right. Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers.
All right. Well, this has been another episode of Tales from the Shaker. I hope that you connected with our guest and you found something that inspired you to shake things up in your own life. Till next time.